Welcome to the MMA Roadshow, episode number 581. My name is John Morgan, and Cold Coffee, the busiest journalist in combat sports, is with me, joining me live from LA on the heels of Zuffa Boxing on Sunday, on Mother's Day. I mean, this man, Journalist of the Year in combat sports, told you that Ronda Rousey was going to be fighting, and now he is at the event to cover it. But I apologize. I didn't even know you went to Zuffa Boxing this past night. I had to miss. I've been trying to go to all the Zuffa Boxing as well. I enjoy being there.
Yep.
Obviously, it's good to cover it and good to be around that. And we always said, hey, it's right in our backyard. Let's do it. But I had to take a pass. I'm going to apologize to you right now. But hopefully you'll give me a pass. Bro, it was Mother's Day. What are they doing throwing an event on Mother's Day?
I know, right? And there were certainly no mothers fighting on the card, so I guess they gave them the pass. And don't forget, Saturday was a UFC event where I did remote stuff, but I also covered the Aces game earlier in the day and then went straight home and edited. Bro, your boy is busy. It's Aces, the defending champions, trying to spread out a little bit. And actually, USA Today hired a content creator that primarily covers the Aces and a lot of the women's sports.
Okay.
So I knew she was going to be at the event, so I wanted to try to go down there and sort of like shake hands, introduce myself, and hopefully kind of build a collaboration and see if I can help her build some stuff and kind of help branch out a little bit. So I did that on Saturday, but yeah, that made Saturday really long. But yeah, we could have used some more help on the old Boxing Day because there was not many media there. I think there was maybe 4 or 5 of us, if that,
right.
And I think people are still surprised because, I mean, there are other media in town, but I don't know if you still have some of the boxing holdouts that are still like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this. I don't know if I want to cover Zuffa Boxing. At some point, they need to get over the fact that Zuffa Boxing is not going away.
Mm-hmm.
We're starting to see more and more fighters go and join the roster, and that does not mean that the, Golden Boys, that the Top Rank, all these people need to go away. No, they can coexist, but in terms of what a lot of people think the Ali Act, they think it's going to kill all the other things. And what Dana's kind of saying too is like, if what you're doing is right and what you're doing is whatever, just keep doing your thing, and we're going to do our thing over here. I know there is a lot of things to it when it comes to the Ali Act and changing the different other things. And, you had even Roy Jones Jr. kind of coming out, and this is a guy that we've all watched and loved him in the boxing sphere, coming out and even saying some things about how it's going to erase history. It's going to, it should be about the best fighters being able to go and fight the best fighters. And they're afraid that if Zuffa Boxing starts doing its own belt thing, it kind of gets rid of this other ranking thing, the other stuff. I mean, that stuff can still be there. It can still be doing all of its little thing. They just, but for them to change things, they're afraid that, and he was like, oh, you're not going to get a fight unless you kiss their asses. And if you do all this other stuff. And it's pretty shocking to me when he was saying this stuff because we all know that Dana and Roy Jones Jr. are friends. They're buddies. I think they have a lot of respect. So I was really surprised when I was seeing some of this stuff. But that was kind of cool to actually go to some of these things. But that's, I guess, one of the benefits of going to these things because you're getting some of these tidbits and some of this stuff straight from Dana. Dana's still going to them. So it's kind of worthwhile. And we've done things like when we used to go, we still cover the Contender Series because we love the Contender Series. But for a while there, Dana was at every Contender Series afterwards. And it was kind of like hey, if you want to speak to the UFC president, come to the Contenders, and then you get to see him, So it's kind of still like that with the Zuffa Boxing. And I was really surprised because it was Mother's Day. I thought Dana was going to take the day off because they just got back from Newark.
Right.
And so I was really, really surprised that they came actually to the event. But, yeah, I was kind of glad that we did go because we were able to kind of reflect a little bit and talk to him. I was able to talk to him a little bit about the Hamzat Strickland end, and that's catching a lot of things with Ariel and them going in hard on Strickland and Hamzat. But I thought it was kind of cool to be able to kind of be there for a boxing event, but get to talk to Dana about the prior event, and some of the things that fell out from that. But yeah, it was a busy week. But my mother is not here, so I sent her. I gave her a call and did all that kind of stuff. So I feel like I handled my Mother's Day business, so I was able to kind of go to the events. But yeah, it's been a busy week or so, and then straight into this week with Rousey Carano, and here we are in LA. We got the press conference later on today, so I'm glad we were able to get together this morning and kind of get this done, and I'll get it knocked out and published before we get into. But yeah, it was interesting, kind of transitioning into this, and then yesterday being out there on Venice Beach, and getting to see the open workouts and get to see people, and they looked good. I mean, like it was pretty interesting to see some stuff, but I mean, there were definitely some tells with some of the fighters, when they're up there. Like, I thought Perry was great, sort of bouncing around doing his thing, but he looked sort of winded towards the end. I knew Nate Diaz wasn't going to do anything, so he got up there and just worked the crowd and smoked a couple joints, and he was hilarious.
The most Nate
And then he goes in the back to do his scrum, and then he's like, I'm so high, just like, bro, you just lit 2 huge spliffs up on the fucking stage. But it was cool to see, we got to see Ronda hitting, got to see Gina doing her thing. Both of them looked in good shape and looked in good spirits, and then seeing everybody else. But yeah, man, what a crazy few days of transition this week. But yeah, here we are, fight week, man. Just days away from what Ronda says is going to be the biggest MMA event ever.
So, all right, you have brought up so many things I want to touch on. All right, so first of all, real quick, we'll go through a little bit of it all. Zuffa boxing, number one. Completely understand everybody's arguments as to why they don't like the business model and why they say it's terrible for the fighters. Yep. I get that argument. I don't know that I necessarily agree with all of it. Again, there's pros and cons to both systems, just like with the UFC. You know what I mean? The entry level fighters have this nice middle class, but maybe the top level fighters don't make as much as they could. So there's all these arguments, but and they're good arguments and they're fair arguments. But the one thing that I will say is the people that are assuming Zuffa boxing won't make it, or like this will never work, or it's going to go away. Like, no, they're here, and if as long as they decide to be in it, they're gonna be in it. You know what I mean? So like anybody that's just like, hey, if we look the other way, if we put our head in the sand, if we don't give it any oxygen, we don't pay attention to it, it'll just go away. No, Zuffa boxing is here to stay. And so I think that's such an important notice for people to realize, is that if you stand against it, that's okay. That's certainly within your right. But you just have to understand this is now a player in the game, and it ain't going anywhere. So you better figure out how you want to craft your business or your media coverage or your fandom around it, because it's going to be there. So cool that you're there on the ground floor, and I will join you with future Zuffa boxing events as well. My wife would have kicked my ass if I told her that on Mother's Day I was leaving to go cover boxing. She'd have been like, hey, well, you know what? You don't bother coming home afterwards. You go cover boxing, and hopefully they got a nice place for you to stay and a new wife for you, because I'm out. So I'll join you in the future. So I just wanted to point that out. The other thing, and there's so much to talk about with Hamzat and Sean and the reaction and all that, but one thing I have heard a lot of this week, and I've heard of some of it in the past before, but I just want to dispel some misinformation that I've heard out there, where people talking about the weigh-in procedure and the whole, did Hamzat make weight? Now, I will say, the official, and by the way, the New Jersey official, I work directly with him a lot with CFFC. He comes up and covers, oversees our events with CFFC. I mean, I've seen him do weigh-ins. We use a digital scale, but obviously they don't use a digital scale there for the UFC. It did seem
That's weird, because Dana says it's a commission thing.
That is interesting. Yeah, I don't know whose choice it is to use it, or maybe that's just at the UFC level. I don't know why but we use a digital scale. Nobody has a problem. I do know, and I saw John McCarthy actually talking with Josh Thompson, and this is knowledge too, by the way. I mean, everybody. I shouldn't say everybody. I feel like it's common knowledge. The using the manual scale versus the digital scale, people do like it because it does give you a little bit of leeway. Like if you're 170.1, you can't really tell because the thing's like right there in the middle, so you can just be like, he's 170. You know what I mean? Whereas on a digital scale, if he's 170.1, you're like, sorry, bro, you're off. So in some ways, that beam scale is beneficial because it allows you some flexibility. But I will say this. And I don't think a lot of people watch the whole video. I found it less controversial because Hamzat gets on, they call it quickly, he steps off, and then they have to bring him back on for the photo. And if you watch the whole video through, when he steps back on for his photo, it balances right there in the middle. So it's like he is on. At least I believe he was on because of that. But putting all that to the side, what I really wanted to dispel was, I've heard some people say that when they step on that scale in the front, that's not really the weight. It's they get their official weight in the back, and that's kind of a ceremonial process. That's not true. There is a scale in the back. That's a check scale. That's the organization scale, because the organization doesn't want to send you out there to the official scale if they know you're overweight. Whereas they can say, like, no, hey, don't go out there yet. We see you're off. Go cut a little bit more weight or whatever the case may be. So I've heard. I don't know if you've heard. And I don't know exactly where I've heard about. I listen to like every podcast out there. I listen to all the shows, and I've heard a couple people say this, that like, oh, that's not the actual official weight. The official weight is in the back. That's not true information. That's a promotion scale, a check scale is what we call it. So
check scale.
Yeah.
Check scale.
Yeah.
And that's one of the ones that a lot of times when we're waiting for a fighter, and we're like, hey, is the person even in the building? Oftentimes we'll hear the commissioner or somebody say, yeah, they've made it to the check scale. Mm-hmm. They're in the building. They're accounted for. And that point, a lot of times, before they went back to the 2 hours, but say they were in that window, say it was an hour, and they're like, well, they're clearly not in here. That was enough for them to say, okay, they've been accounted for, they're on the check scale, they're on their way here, and that allowed them to kind of proceed forward. But yeah, there was one certified, I'm doing the air quotes, mm-hmm. certified, that the commission comes, checks the scale out at the very beginning. They don't do it to both scales because, yes, the first one is just to sort of, are you in the ballpark? Are you good? Do you need to go to the sauna? Do you need to go, force yourself to, drop something else, that is not the official, thing. That is clearly the one that the commission is standing is always going to be the official scale. But yeah, I mean, and it's funny because when you said how he got back on, he left it. That is why most people always, the commissions, when they read the scale, they slide the weight over. Yep. They clear the weight. They clear the rack so that there is no doubt, because they understand people are going to be looking at that. People are going to do whatever. And that's why when they call the weight, they're really quickly. It's like, the ones that do it in Vegas, they're used to doing it. But these are also people that do hundreds upon mm-hmm. hundreds of events, possibly even like a year. They're constantly doing it. They understand it. But yeah, that's kind of funny that they left it up there, because I would think that the guy, when he called it, would have slid that weight right off to the end and be done with it. There's no doubt. But that's good that you at least saw that, because, yeah, everything I heard from people on the ground there made it look like there was an issue, and that they cleared it, that they said it really quickly. So I wasn't there, so I don't have my own footage to look back on, so I just have to kind of take what people said. But I'm glad that you said that at least it did, because, from what I had heard was that he didn't make weight. So if you saw something as well that looked good,
I felt like it was. I felt like it was. It looked like it bounced when he got back on. So anyway, I just want to share. But the real piece of information I want to share is, if you ever hear somebody say that weight that's out there is not official, that's incorrect. That is the official weight. The check scale in the back is an unofficial weight, and that's really just more for the promotions, procedures. So anyway, all right, listen, so with that in the rearview mirror, we talk about what's going on in LA. Man, so I want you to set the scene as to what all was going on here today, because I watched it. They were streaming the open workouts on YouTube, and listen, we're going to talk about the UFC as well, but let's be honest, this is the big event. All the media, you're out there, all the big guys are out there at MVP MMA. But I watched the open workouts yesterday. Very cool. Like you said, Venice Beach out there on the basketball court. You had the open workouts, but it seemed like there was like multiple media things going on, because I was seeing all kinds of different coverage come out. I was just watching the open workouts, and I do want to say this. It's interesting because I saw Nikisa Badarian, the head of MVP MMA. It was just like an Instagram clip or something, and he was kind of showing the whole setup before it was underway, and he was like, you know what? We may spend a lot of money, but we do put on spectacles. And I was like, you know what? I'll give him that. Like, it did seem like, decent crowd turnout, but it did feel like a big-time event. It felt like a big spectacle out there with, all the setup and the signage and all that. But it seemed like there was more than one thing going on at a time, right? There was like there were scrums, or what was going on?
There was a scrum that was going on. They had a media roundtable off to the side that was running concurrently, and it was like an invite-only type thing. So it wasn't like an official, like, hey, you could do this or you could do that. They sent out an invite to certain media outlets. We did have somebody in there. I know Fighting was in there. Oscar was in there, and some of the other ones. It was in the racquetball court thing right next to it, which was like a concrete just shell. So it was like They didn't have an audio box. The lighting was an issue as well. So I mean, like, so when you see a lot of the audio, it's because they had a mic that was feeding into their stuff, but they didn't have any other sort of like mic for the people in the room. So it was room audio in a like a concrete shell. So that it was a bit of a issue for the guys that were in there. I stayed out at the workout court, but by the what they call it, the decagon or hexagon. I was trying to figure out. I was like, how many sides is it again? So, and then next to that, they had this little activation thing where you could go in there and you get, and Oscar Willis posted a little card of his, and I went through it with him. I was just trying to get to the submission thing, and I'll tell you the story about that. But you could go through, you put in your info, and then you did a fighter pose, then you kick this bag. I was like, bro, I don't want to kick this. My shorts weren't for it. I was like, can I just teep kick it? And so I teep kicked it, and then we went to the submission thing, and then you would put a choke on it. Funny enough, Oscar goes through, and he had a pretty decent chokehold. I remember after his kick, the guy was like, does he fight? Does he whatever? I was like, yeah, he's a bit of an amateur. And Oscar was like, amateur. And then I go up and I wanted to choke it. All I wanted to do was go through the thing to choke it. So I'm working my hands around it, just part of the choke. The guy said, oh, no, position like this so you can get your elbow on this crease. So I was like, I'm going to fucking yank the shit out of this. Kept repositioning my arm. And finally get my arm on, ready to go. And I was like, all right, ready? And he's like, all right, 1, 2, 3. And when I went to squeeze it, I popped the fucking head off of it. I literally broke it. and it was like, I was like, no. I really want to squeeze. I want to whatever. And they're like, well, you kind of broke it. And then they just put the top on. I was like, well, can I go again? They're like, nah, just kind of go, whatever. So it registered as like 25 pounds. I was like,
nah,
what?
Bro, I'm lethal.
What?
Lethal.
And Oscar's was like 100 something. I told him, it's funny because in my nerd self, I was like, yeah, most of the anime I watch, when they try to test somebody's strength and they're too strong, you break the thing. That's what it was. The superpower broke it. But I went through all that bullshit just to get to the choke thing, and then I popped its fucking head off, and it broke the thing.
Fatality.
Fatality. So I was so bummed. But so they had that. So that was kind of neat that they had that, and that was right next to the open workout thing. But yeah, they had music blaring. They had an influencer section, so of course Nina Drama was there. This chick Lorena that I only know of that does like these little Dora the Explorer like stuff, but she's very physical or whatever. She was in there. Michael Irving was there.
I saw that.
I don't know if you saw that. So when Nate was there, Nate was like called up Irving and then brought the whole team over to do selfies with him. I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, it definitely had a feel about it. And I was wondering how it was going to be because that was I haven't been to Venice Beach. I don't know if that was my first time or maybe I was there once before, but it was pretty sparse when we got there, so I wasn't sure how the turnout was going to be. But lo and behold, by the time it started, it was probably 4, 5, or 6 deep for the most part, wrapped around this particular area. You could only get to it from roughly about 3/4 of it because the backside of it was where the racquetball courts were. It was where the production vehicles all were, so you could only kind of get around it for about maybe 60% of it, so people were pretty packed out on it. But dude, it was good. I mean, it sucked that I had a really shitty angle because of the sunlight was kind of made it a little backlit, but they got some pretty cool images from that on occasion. But yeah, it was certainly probably one of the cooler things. The only other time I could really remember some beach open workouts was like down in Brazil. And I was telling the stories of us like burning our feet in the sand and burning the feet on the workout top, so it certainly wasn't that, but it was still pretty cool, man. It was pretty cool to see it, and I'm glad that there was turnout because then the fighters have fun. And you seeing Junior up there, that was so cool to see Junior Dos Santos up there doing his thing, and he was really playing with the crowd.
It was great.
Philippe Lins kind of worked the crowd. Some of the others were kind of working the crowd, but kind of just actually enjoying it. I was just glad that people were getting into it, and it wasn't just like a Ham would show up and just talk to the crowd.
Yep.
Like, I never expected Nate Diaz to do anything.
No.
He at least walked around a little bit shadow box, but he did what people expected him to do, and I thought he was really funny playing with the crowd. But it was fun, man. It had been a while since we seen one of those, and I was really glad how it came out.
Well, and I agree, and that's what I thought the same thing. Like, again, I'm watching the stream of it, and I will say one thing. I don't know if this is a criticism so much as just an observation. So, obviously, you're there in person, so you're not seeing all the coverage. But on a live stream, and they did it as like a full-on production, right? They had, like, graphics come up, and, it wasn't just like a one camera shoot, right? They're going to different angles, but all the graphics referenced everybody's UFC records and their accomplishments in the UFC. And I was like, and I understand why you would do that. I mean, like, that's their most notable accomplishments. But if you're trying to position yourself as this, like, alternative rival to the UFC, and then every athlete that's up there, you're putting their UFC record, I thought that was a little weird. Like, I don't know that I would lean into this. I feel like I'd not want to put that.
Yeah, wasn't their overall MMA record? It was just UFC fights?
Yeah, it would say, like, it would have, like, their overall record and then, like, their UFC record. Or it'd say, like, 8 knockouts in the UFC, or just, like, stuff like that. I'm like, why?
I gotcha.
Why would you put all that? So anyway, I thought that was funny. But it did make me think too. Like, we don't see open workouts all the time. It is kind of cool, right? Like, it's a different feel. I know the athletes don't always love them. To your point exactly, in this one, and I feel like maybe it's because everybody's got like this kind of like underdog, us against the world mentality, like Strikeforce did or WEC fighters did. You know what I mean? Like, hey, we're the outcasts, we're the underdogs. So like they're enjoying it and they're taking it on. Whereas like we've seen like athletes at UFC, when UFC used to make a habit of doing a lot of open workouts, you had guys that just clearly did not want to be there. You had guys that wouldn't, like Dan Henderson would never work out, TJ Dillashaw wouldn't work out. And I understand. They're like, hey, I've got my own schedule. I don't want to do it. But everybody there was like taking it, other than Nate, but Nate did his own thing. Nobody expected Nate to work out. He went out there and still played. So I thought that was interesting. It is weird because I start thinking, well, man, should the UFC be doing more of that? They've done it from time to time, but I don't know. They do kind of lose their effectiveness, I guess, if you're doing them all the time, right? They're kind of more effective as like one-offs here and there or whatever. So I don't. Just
kind of what they've kind of transitioned to. It seems, is kind of the one-off on special occasions, like if they're going to a market they haven't been to in a while. Because we've always said, I mean, like if you can't afford a ticket, and I get it. The ticket events are expensive. It's something that the fans can actually do and see, and they could take the whole family because it's free, and I think there's something to that. But you're right. I mean, if it was something every time, maybe as many people wouldn't be like, oh, I'm not going to make it this one. Maybe I'll just catch the next one. But if it's coming up, I would certainly say I'd love to see it. I mean, like for us visually, to have the B-roll to put it underneath a scrum if we're able to get a scrum after it, like when we've done the ones in the MGM hotels and all those other ones. Kind of cool to see a little bit of workout, and then you get the scrum stuff, but it's cool to just see all the fans there and just see like the kids and everybody be able to kind of do that stuff. And there is something, I mean, like if you want to kind of keep, and a lot of people are saying that, with this oversaturation and all these other stuff, what are you doing to help foster the new fans? And I mean, doing these sort of open workouts where somebody could see it in front of them, see it, feet away from them, bring their whole family and, make it a spectacle, create those memories of people getting in the car, driving over to so-and-so, waiting in line, getting in there, seeing their favorite fighter or something that they respect, and then they'll remember that. And then they're hooked. Then they watch the stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I think they should do more of them. I don't mind, like I know me, there's times like during the crazy fight week when we're just like, oh, we got so much stuff. But I'm like, shut up, self. Like, this is good. This is good for the sport. And it's something different. It's not just sitting down at a dais doing a press conference. This is visual, cool stuff. And, you get to actually see how a fighter really is. And this is the stuff, too. Like, when you're wondering, oh, how is somebody going to look on fight week? How is somebody going to look on the fight day? I'm not sure who I'm going to pick on my vote. This stuff is all very telling to see how somebody looks just days away from their fight. And I will tell you, I have some questions about how some people are still going to be struggling to get on this scale for this week because a lot of people look really big and should be interesting.
All right, well,
Gina and Ronda looked incredible. I thought Gina looked fantastic, but I know Perry was sort of huffing and puffing up there, and I know he's got some weight to cut. So it should be interesting.
Okay, so you hit on two of the biggest themes that I saw watching at home, right? So first, since this fight has been announced, I disagree that Ronda Rousey versus Gina Carano is the biggest fight in MMA history. I disagree. I guess it just depends on what your measures are. It may end up being the most watched in history, but I don't know if that necessarily makes it the biggest. You know what I mean? Like, we're not determining a world champion here. We're not determining who's the best pound-for-pound fighter on earth. You know what I mean? But there is going to be a lot of people watching, and I'll be one of them. Even though I'll be at the Apex, I will certainly have my screen open watching this as well. So it is a big, big fight. But since it's been announced from day one, I'm like, oh, that's Ronda Rousey all day. Like, no disrespect to Gina Carano, but it's been 17 years. On top of that, Ronda Rousey, just the athletic pedigree was higher. Obviously, an Olympic medalist, and then she, championship, and just to me, all day it just screamed like, look, this is Ronda Rousey all day. And I still don't disagree that it's Ronda Rousey all day, but I will say this: I took this away and tell me, like, watching the open workouts. Number one, Gina Carano, incredible shape and moving well. Now, again, moving well doesn't necessarily mean fighting well when there's an opponent throwing back at you. But as far as just like
or defending well,
right? But it's in terms of just like seeing her footwork and like how light she moves and how athletic she is. You know what I mean? Like it's there. Like it was impressive to watch. So I loved watching Gina's open workout. And with Ronda's open workout, obviously judo off the charts, unbelievable. That hasn't gone away. The striking is still not great. Like there's no head movement there whatsoever, and it's just a little bit. It's aggressive. You know what I mean? So I still think Ronda all day, but a little part of me was like, man, if Gina can find a way to keep distance and stay away, like she might be able to win this thing on the feet. But I don't see in a million years that she can win this. And if Ronda's chin's totally gone, and you know what I mean, it's not there anymore. Maybe she could land something on the feet, but I just. Overall, I believe Ronda's probably going to take this to the ground as soon as she wants to, and win this fight.
Yeah, the just watching her judo and just doing the other things. If she gets a hold of her, I mean, the game changed from when Gina was doing this, and Gina transitioned into movies and other stuff. And while she could work on striking and do other stuff, and again, I mean, like it wasn't like we were seeing flawless hands, I mean, we were seeing some movement. I saw something that felt very loose and I felt that she's not going to be nervous to get in there. She might get some nerves, obviously, but in terms of, her focus for all these years has not been fighting. And while, yes, it is, I'm sure, like riding a bike in some aspects, you're still not going to make up that ground that was never really there if you haven't really been trying to force yourself to learn the skill set that wasn't a big factor. That's why Ronda was so darn invincible when she first started, because none of the ladies seemed to know how to defend an armbar until they closed that gap and even was able to defend against judo takedowns and tosses and all the other stuff. It just showed a different level of skill. And I mean, it'd be kind of interesting if Ronda wanted to keep it on the feet to make it a striking fight, but I think at the end of the day we know what her bread and butter is, and we saw it again even the workout. I mean, she started the open workout doing judo stuff and then transitioned into the hands. Whereas a lot of times we'll see people go out there and work hands and then transition into grappling or jiu-jitsu. That they're trying to show whatever. But she showed her bread and butter right from the get-go, and I don't have any doubt that that's now at some point how it's going to be. They might start striking, but once she gets in there and gets her hands on her, she's going to work to throw her to the ground, and she's going to try to armbar her.
Agreed.
I mean, like, unless she wants to sell the fight and like let it try to work into the second round or so. But it's going to be in Ronda's corner to do that.
That's okay. That's exactly what I was going to ask you though. So, given the clear great feelings between these two, the affinity that they have for each other, and what Ronda's trying to what serves Ronda's purpose better? Do you think to go be Ronda Rousey and win this thing in 12 seconds? Or to carry Gina a little bit, and I mean that is no disrespect to Gina, but maybe carry's the wrong word, but just be willing to engage in her game. Because I think if Ronda says, "All right, I'm not grappling. I'm gonna try to have this as a striking fight. We're gonna put on a show for the fans." If she does that, I think this fight does get extended a little bit, and it does allow Gina Carano to survive. I don't think Ronda just overwhelms Gina Carano on the feet. So what do you think? I guess either A, what Ronda's going to want to do, or B, what would serve. Because it's clear that Ronda is trying to take over the universe of MMA and save the world from Hunter Campbell. Right. So what serves as the better launching point, you think, to go out there and just be a dominant champ, or to maybe, again, not carry, but let the fight play out a little bit, let the show extend a little bit, and maybe let Gina look a little bit better and have a competitive fight.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, too, it's not even just trying to help Gina. I think it's trying to help Netflix. If they have an hour left on what is supposed to be the scheduled broadcast and that fight starts, I guarantee she wants to kind of keep that fight going so Netflix has good content so they don't have to get to the very end of the thing and be like, oh, well, I guess we're going to shut the stream off. They can. I mean, it's still going to be – I imagine they want to still sort of broadcast to that end of the time. So I think she's going to want to make it a big, fun event. I think if they can keep it competitive, both of them are actors. Both of them, I think, can kind of, control it a little bit.
Yeah.
No, I can see this getting, in her best favor. I think as long as it looks the part and there's some little drama, I can see where it looks better if it can make it into, the third or fourth round, because I think Netflix will be happy if it's a competitive fight that's going on, and then, they could sell the drama and then the potential of, oh man, it was really close until it wasn't. Maybe we have to have a rematch, or something along those lines. But no, I think if Ronda came out there and starts during 30 seconds, I think people were like, oh, well, yeah, that's what we expected.
Yeah.
I'm glad we watched it. So, no, I expect it to get brought into at least the third or fourth round before Ronda does her thing. I think she's going to try to strike. And I think if she has the confidence that she's not feeling like she's going to be worried about getting knocked out from Gina, which I'm sure as time goes on, the better of the two athletes physically is going to still be dangerous, where the other one might not be as much. I think Gina's more dangerous maybe in the first or second round. And I would say the second, just so in case there's nerves, that will wear off in the first round, and I'm sure she'll be coming out gunning in the second round. But no, I have Ronda in this clearly.
Yep.
And I'd be silly to not say it's an armbar or some sort of a rear naked choke or some sort of submission.
Yep.
But who knows? I mean, there's always a puncher's chance. Maybe she does knock Gina out. I mean, neither one of them has taken a punch to the face in a while. So you might take a few of them, might be like, I really don't like this. I don't want this to happen anymore.
I remember why I quit this now.
I remember why I retired.
Look, I'll be tuned in. I'm interested. I haven't necessarily loved all the promotion. I feel like it's a little bit of, to borrow a Diazism, I feel like there's been a little bit of wolf tickets being sold in what MVP MMA is going to be. Ronda's out here saying, like, this is the alternative. We're taking over the world. Like, I mean, Netflix has straight up said, like, as far as sports are concerned, they don't want entire seasons of anything. I think I saw the quote the other day, and I apologize. I don't know that I should know the Netflix head's name, but I don't. But I think the quote was, we don't want entire seasons of anything, even if it was the NFL, which we all know what kind of numbers the NFL does and how big it's. Like, they don't want whole seasons. So they're never going to be a place that does like 40 fight cards a year like the UFC or something like that. Like, even if this thing works, and I think it will get good numbers, I think they're going to do, as you said, it's one-offs. And so because of that, I feel like it's been a little bit misrepresented what this thing means. But anytime there's more options for fighters, more places for them to compete, more ways to get paid, I believe that's a very good thing for the athlete. So I will be tuned in. Now, I did want to bring up the other key observation that you had, in that everybody is looking forward to Nate Diaz versus Mike Perry. Of course, that is two of the most entertaining athletes in the sport going at it, and I don't see any way that it's not going to be a hell of a lot of fun. But Mike Perry, if you didn't watch this, he struggled to get through his interview after his workout a little bit because he was a little bit winded, and he was like, "Ooh," he even said it. He was like, "Ooh, sorry, I put it all out there." You know what I mean? But he seemed a little bit winded, as you said. I don't think he was quite 170 just yet. So I don't know. Did that temper your enthusiasm or change your expectations for the fight at all, or does really any of that even matter when you're talking about these two guys?
No, I mean, not at all. I mean, I think we know what we're going to get from both fighters right off the get-go. Perry's going to come out slanging. Diaz is going to come out Diazing. And oddly enough, it's funny because I was just trying to look at my staff picks. I was like, I'm pretty sure I stuffed my staff picks in, but I can't quite sure. So I was actually just trying to do them off to the side. But, dude, I'm bucking the trend. Most of the people on our staff are Perry. But, man, Diaz is just so chill, so whatever. I want to ride with Diaz one more time. So I'm giving Nate all the smoke power in the world to do his thing. The biggest thing is just like what Perry said yesterday. It's the weight scale. That's the battle that both those guys are going to have. But Nate's always kind of been close to it. I mean, he might look like he struggles, but he always seems to make it. So, hopefully he's, coming in really good, and all the smoke isn't going to cause an issue losing any last pounds. But as for Perry, I mean, we know what we're going to get from him, but I have a feeling the way he was sort of gassed himself out, if Perry doesn't finish him quickly, I think Perry will wear out, and I have a feeling that Nate's going to probably sub him or something. But I'm rolling with Diaz on this one, man. But no, I mean, like, both those guys are going to go out, and we know what we're going to get from that one.
Yep.
both guys are just going to throw, and somebody's going to get bloody. Diaz, he has all that scar tissue. That's going to split open. So, yeah, I mean, like, he's going to be a bloody mess. I hope that Perry gets a bloody mess because Perry just becomes an absolute monster once he starts bleeding. There's never been a better built dude for bare knuckle than Mike Perry. So, like, we know he wants to get in there and scrap and make it nasty. So, no, I'm not too worried about these guys going out there and doing their thing. In fact, I think it's probably going to be probably one of the most interesting or exciting fights just for this fact of, like, there's just so much emotional investment, I think, for fans in this one because obviously with both guys, I think, are well beloved in their own right, but it doesn't get much more beloved than Diaz. Like, the crowd, when he stepped on the scene yesterday, it was like a celebration. Like, they were just like their own dude was there. It was so cool to see, and you miss seeing that because you want these guys to see those things, and I think it's been a while since they actually got to experience that, and it was really cool to kind of see him get embraced by his people there. So it was pretty cool. That was probably, actually, I forgot about how cool that moment felt to just take that in and see that for him because, this is what we want for them. Yep. That's why these open workouts are kind of cool. You want them to experience that. So be able to see that, there's a lot of time. I feel like we appreciate it, and I think, what they give to the sport, but a lot of times they maybe don't hear it. But you got to see a little bit of that yesterday where they were thinking the crowd, the crowd was giving it back, and the fighters were like, that's awesome. You could see that they all enjoyed themselves. It was really freaking cool, man. So, yeah, no, I'm excited for that fight. In fact, that might be one of the ones, I think, when we all heard that fight get announced for this card, who didn't get, like, super stoked? Like, it was like, fuck yeah, dude, thank you very much. Well done, MVP. Well done on getting this together, and that's why, man. So, yeah, I hope these two come out there and just bang it out, man. But I'm hoping for some fun fireworks on this one. And this is another one I want it to go a little bit.
Yeah,
I don't want to see one round and like somebody knock them out. Like, I want to see a little bit of battle on this one. So I'm fingers crossed we get a good one from this one.
Well, hey, listen, man. I don't think Nate Diaz is a bad pick, especially considering it's a 5-round fight, right? I mean, it is. It's something to note. It is fight, even though it's not tight on the line. It is a 5-round fight, and you would think if that goes long, especially considering, like I said, Perry seemed a little bit winded at the open workout. Looks like he's got a little bit of a weight cut ahead of him. So I don't think it's a bad little underdog play. And like I said, who doesn't want to ride with the Diaz brothers, man? I mean, those guys are legends. It's cool to see them connect. Here's the other. Francis Ngannou, of course, everybody's excited to see Francis Ngannou back against Felipe Lins. I was a little bit surprised to see the line as madly skewed as it is. And maybe I shouldn't. I mean, Felipe has been competing at light heavyweight. So he's coming up against the hardest puncher on. Oh, dude, that was a funny one yesterday too. That was the moment that made me chuckle. That so you had the commentator out there at the open workouts as well, right? Big Mo is the gentleman's name, and he was kind of emceeing the whole ceremony. But when Francis Ngannou came out there, and we all remember, at least I do, I'm sure you do. We all remember when this happened. Remember when they had the UFC and they did like a study that Francis Ngannou's punch registers as hard as like being hit by a Toyota Camry or something like that. It was they put it out at a press conference, whatever, and everybody kind of laughed at it at the time. Like, that seems weird. But when Big Mo was emceeing yesterday, he's like, they did the science before, and his punch is as hard as getting hit by a small car. And I was like, a small car, like that's a little bit less like you need the make and the model in there to make that same. Anyway, it just made me giggle a little bit. I'm like, a small car, but anyway, I was a little bit surprised to see the odds maybe as skewed as they are. Like, I think Felipe Lins, he's been around. He's faced some tough competition, and I think he will have an athletic advantage in there. Like, Francis isn't always the fastest guy with the size and the power that he has. But, I mean, you're seeing Francis as much as like a minus 1,500, which is crazy. So if you're making a staff pick, you sure as hell don't put Felipe Lins. But if you're just putting down $20 or a couple dollars to have a little fun, like a plus 850 underdog in a heavyweight fight where if anybody gets hit, they can go down with one shot. I don't know. Maybe take a little stab at it.
Yeah, right. I mean, why not? I mean, it certainly doesn't hurt, and there's always a puncher's chance. But yeah, I mean, I guess I kind of get it where the odds are. I mean, like, in terms of names, most people have probably never even heard who Philippe is unless you're an actually somebody that follows the sport. So I think a lot of people are like, wow, man, that's a guy that fought Anthony Joshua. That's the guy that fought, this and that, and I've seen his name, and he's blah, 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 blah. And he was the lineal heavyweight champion. He's got to be an absolute killer, and this is, I think, one of the guys that when they kind of poached him and got him or whatever, a lot of people are like, oh, man, this guy's a beast. And when you look at him, I mean, it's not like Philippe's a small dude, but, I mean, Francis is an impressive-looking specimen. I mean, he's just a hulk
huge.
of a dude. So I can see where somebody's like, I don't know anything about, this other guy, so, yeah, I'm going to ride with this guy. And I wouldn't doubt him. But, yeah, in terms of, like, staff pick, no offense to Philippe, but, yeah, I mean, you had to ride with the Predator, man. And what was the guy was trying to say? Like, somebody was like, oh, you got to come up with another nickname or whatever. I was like, whatever that means. I don't know why people are always like, oh, you're changing, you're starting a new thing. Like Predator was only his time in the UFC. I'm like, nah, bro, he's the freaking Predator, man.
Yeah.
Like, but no, yeah, I'm with Francis all day long. But I mean, I think both of us are smart enough to know that like guys that have fought in the UFC have a skill set, and they have power, and if somebody takes somebody lightly, that's how you get caught. So. I don't think Francis is the kind of guy that's going to be so like, oh, this guy doesn't have a chance and discredit him and not give him his credit. I think Francis and let alone his team are too smart to let him go in there thinking that Philippe has no dangerous weapons and things of that sort. But it is a fight. It starts on the feet. You never know. He could get cocky and get caught. And but I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think we see that power, man. That power is just sick. And if Philippe can take one or two and eat it, more power to him. But you take too many of those, you're going to go down. I mean, that's the amazing, exciting part of the heavyweight, division. These big boys, they throw them hands, man. Somebody's going down. So, yeah, I hope it's a fun one. That's another one too. Like, I want to see a little bit of action. I want to see, we want to see how Francis actually looks in this fight. It's been a minute since we've seen him fight, an MMA fight. So I'm excited to see. How he looks, but we've seen him train before. We've seen him do his things, and hitting mitts up there is one thing. Like looking at the open workout, it looked like you were watching a boxing workout.
Yeah,
looked like he was prepping for a boxing fight. That is not what is going on, and so it'll be interesting to see, how he looks and what he's been training. But we know that team that he works with, and I have a lot of respect for those guys, and they're not going to let him come in here not prepared. So it should be fun. I'm looking forward to that one. But yeah, I'm riding Team Ngannou on that one for sure.
A couple of things I want to point out to anybody that maybe isn't aware of names to look out for. Things. Saladin Parnasse, if you're a hardcore MMA fan, you've seen this guy fight. I mean, but if you're not, you probably haven't heard of him or seen him. But multiple weight champion over in KSW. This dude is really, really, really good. And I was really interested to see him on this card because I didn't, and maybe I missed it. I don't know if he left KSW or if KSW is just giving him a one-off for this opportunity to come fight here in the United States and raise his profile a little bit. Because, like I said, I don't think there's any long-term contracts with the MVP MMA because, again, they don't have a real schedule. So that's you can't hire a roster because you don't have any promise of future events. So assuming this is just a one-off, but I don't know if that was a one-off because he let his contract expire, so apologize if I missed that. But he's got a really good fight against Kenneth Cross. So if you haven't been watching KSW and you haven't seen him fight, I think you'll like to see him fight. Junior Dos Santos versus Robelis Espana. Obviously, as you said, JDS, man, he was playing to the crowd, all smiles. He's obviously always the nicest guy. I love seeing Junior happy and out there and getting the opportunity. I would suggest he try to grapple here because Robelis is not great at grappling, but Robelis is dangerous as hell on the feet. Like, Robelis, leaving the UFC and going to karate combat was like the best, career move for him possible. I don't know what the pay is like for him. I'm assuming it's as good or better, but it's a great opportunity for him. But we always, laud Junior Dos Santos for his. For his striking, but I don't know if this is necessarily a fight that you really want to be a stand-up battle in. So look for that. And I also want to give a shout-out to Pumi Nakuda, former CFFC flyweight champion, undefeated, 11-0. He's gained multiple titles fighting in numerous organizations, but came through CFFC. Great personality. Has never been able to get to the UFC just because he has a lack of finishes. And I know that, he's been in contact with Mick Maynard, and I think Mick just kind of told him, like, look, man, we're not not really interested in your style right now, so he's had to kind of pursue every other alternative. I know he's done some pro wrestling as well, but steps in here on late notice after Muhammad Mukayev wasn't able to gain his visa in time, and now Pumi gets this huge opportunity against Adriano Moraes, who obviously Adriano is an incredible, all-time great fighter. A little longer in the tooth at this point. So, he's been through some battles and it's been some years. But I just want to give a shout out to Pumi as well. Again, I really do think this card is awesome. They did a fantastic job of matchmaking and putting this whole event together. And I don't know, man. I'm expecting big things. I'm sure they're expecting big numbers, and I hope Netflix likes what they see and decides that they want to get more into it. You know what I mean? So you got the press conference tonight, right? Press conference tonight.
Yep.
Then are they? I didn't see that. Are they doing official? I'm assuming they're doing official and ceremonial weigh-ins.
Yeah, supposedly they're doing both, and that's what we're still trying to work out. Supposedly they said that we will be able to get access for the official weigh-ins. I know that last time they said that when they were trying to do one of these events, they let them in the room like 5 minutes before or whatever, and so nobody really had time to really properly set up and shoot it. But I'm hearing that we are going to have access to it. They're still not trying to tell us where the host hotel, even though I think I just got word of what the host hotel is from another reporter. So it's so boxing, man. This is just such a crazy shit. But yeah, they are supposed to be doing the officials, so we should have that, and that'll be good. And then if anything else, there will be a ceremonials in the evening over here again, and then fight night, and then back into Vegas, and then whatever other magical stuff that's going on. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this, dude. I think it's gonna be fun, man. I hope we get the fights that we're all hoping to see. I hope the best things for Netflix. Again, they got money. They got a great platform. I love that they're interested in MMA. I love that they're interested in combat sports. I think Netflix is. It's such a great platform, and if they can keep the stream solid, again, what we saw with the Tyson Jake Paul thing, I think anything soon is gonna match that.
No.
I think that was a great testing platform to stress test the network. Their platform's easy to use. It's easy to get to the stuff. So I'm really looking forward to it, and good on MVP for putting this together. So I'm hoping that it works out for everybody. Because as we say, the more combat sports that's happening, the more of these events that's happening, it's good for the space. It's good for the industry. It's good for us that work in this industry and need to have these events that we can cover. So, and I'm glad that the fighters are able to get paid. Yeah, everybody looked happy. So, man, I'm hoping for a good event. I hope it's going to be exciting. I hope the fans enjoy it, and I hope we get to do it again.
I agree.
More the merrier. So let's go.
I
Looking
agree.
forward to it.
I'd love to see. Like I said, I really, as far as the MVP goes, I don't foresee them ever becoming a true rival to the UFC. But again, if they were, even if it's a fight a quarter, that's a great opportunity for a lot of people to compete on. Hopefully other organizations will allow athletes to compete. So we'll see how it all plays out. But this is a really, really good start. Now, there is a UFC event simultaneously at the UFC Apex. Arnold Allen and Melchizedek Costa. So it's actually a really, really good featherweight fight in the main event there. Certainly going to get a lot less attention. I will be in the Apex. I don't think there'll be a ton of media there. I think most people, as you said, kind of traveled out to L.A. To cover that. Arnold Allen is a slight favorite. I will say this. I did not do media day yesterday because my family's still in town. My son's birthday was on Tuesday, and so my parents have come in to celebrate that, and I did, couldn't take a whole afternoon out while they're in town. Only see them once or twice a year. But that said, I did catch some of the interviews yesterday, and I want to point out two things. Number one, so if you these are the UFC.com interviews that they posted. I've not seen the media day interviews yet, but they did post the UFC.com interviews. I will say Melchizedek Costa did not look like he was having the best weight cut ever. He looked a little bit rough.
Ooh.
Yeah, so just something worth looking if you're looking for little slight edges here and there. I would maybe take a look at that. But the other thing I wanted to point out, and Cold Coffee, I sent you a message last night. I said this man has one-upped Ryan Spann because you of course, and Ryan Spann have this special relationship that has been established at media days where You grip the microphone. It's hard to describe exactly what you guys do. You invert the microphone basically. So
like
normally,
like you're holding a fine Courvoisier.
Yeah.
You just like a sifter. A little
You-
Courvoisier.
that's a good callback there to the ladies, man. I like that. So you invert it and hold it like a cavatier, and so the microphone is upside down. Obviously, this part that you're speaking into is closest to your mouth, and then you're holding it by the mic flag, which is what the square that you see around microphones is called, and the tail end of the microphone is up in the air. So if you've seen any Ryan Spann media days, just know that he saw our man Cold Coffee for whatever reason that particular day pick up his microphone that way, and Ryan Spann is like, oh, is that how we're picking up microphones these days? We'll do that, right? So that's how the whole trend started, and now anytime these two have an interaction, they hold their microphones that way. So it's a funny little behind-the-scenes media day thing, right? But I sent you a picture of Arnold Allen yesterday because on the one hand I said Melquizael Costa didn't look like he was having the best weight cut ever as he was speaking to UFC.com. Meanwhile, Arnold Allen, while he was speaking to UFC.com, decided that was the best time available to have his little snack for the day. Now, whether it's because he was trying to show off for the cameras or whether it was just the right time to eat, I don't know what it was. But, he's eating as he's going. Now, he's eating from like a little dish. It seems like maybe a little UFC PI prepared parfait or something like that, right? So he's holding the parfait dish with one hand, and then he's eating with the other. He's got the spoon and he's scooping. So now you can see he's got two hands utilized during the interview. And you got the small problem.
How can he hold the mic?
That's the question, right?
How can he hold the mic?
How do you hold the microphone at that point, right? Now you could clip a wireless microphone should you have one available, but there was no wireless microphone available in this.
You could have a mic stand. You could have a mic stand in front of him.
Could have a mic stand the way we do in the standing scrums that we've established. You could have that. But no, Arnold Allen decides he's going to take the microphone and stuff it in his shirt. Now, this is a stick microphone. This is not like a lavalier microphone, a lav. This is a stick microphone stuck down his shirt, and the mic flag, again, for the uninformed, the mic flag is that square that has the logos on it, using that kind of resting on the collar to hold the microphone in place so that he's got the microphone right there next to his mouth. And I will be honest with you, surprisingly good audio from this setup, believe it or not.
I imagine it was. I imagine if he was chewing, you could probably get a good audio of the chewing as well.
Probably get a little bit of that. So, yeah, I was watching these last night, trying to keep up on everything after my family had gone to bed and, making sure I was up on everything that was happening. And I sent a picture to Cold Coffee. I was like, this man just one-upped Ryan Spann, bro. That is the most creative microphone.
I was like, what is going on here? That was hilarious.
So, yes.
But you're right. That is certainly a how am I doing in this weight cut play? Like, that is definitely some gamesmanship, I would think. But you never know. Most of those fighters, they're very, very particular about when it's cutting the weight and when they need to eat their stuff so they maintain their energy. It could have been that. Or it could literally be like, bro, you're out there struggling right now. I'm here eating on camera, feeling good, So you never know. But yeah, that in the shirt tuck, that's a first. I don't think I've ever seen that one before.
So that part cracked me up. But that was the other part that I didn't want. I'm like, did he maybe see that Costa looked like? Did they path in the hallway, or they cross paths in the hallway? And did he see? Because Melky's wearing like sunglasses and kind of talking real slow, and the mouth seems a little dry, or whatever. So I'm just wondering if maybe they cross paths, and he's like, oh yeah, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna eat on camera to show him,
Yeah. That's a huge tell, though, on Costa's side. I mean, like, I did pick Costa. I think he's been fighting absolutely incredible.
So good.
And so, like, I'm leaning with him. But, I mean, yeah, that's the stuff that we say about when you're on the ground and you see those little minute things that a lot of people might not think about. But that is very telling on how they're feeling for this fight week. So, yeah, I mean, that's something to note. That is something to note.
Indeed.
For sure.
Rest of this, again, it is at the UFC Apex, so it's kind of the developing prospects, if you will, Duho Choi and Daniel Santos. That should be a really fun co-main event, fireworks there. I'm really, really interested in Malcolm Wellmaker versus Juan Diaz because Malcolm Wellmaker, I still believe, man, this dude has just got star quality, man. Like, not only in the way he fights, but just the presence, like the look, the X factor that you can't teach, man. He's got it. And I know he lost last time out, and I think a lot of people kind of jumped off the bandwagon and were like, see, he's not that good. He lost to Ethan Ewing, who Ethan Ewing just happens to be really, really good as well. But he's facing another tough character in Juan Diaz. But I really am high on the future prospects of star-making potential with Malcolm Wellmaker, so I'm interested to see how he bounces back here. Modestas Wakaskis is here against Christian Edwards, who steps in on late notice. Timmy Kwamba, I've watched that kid fighting from the time he was an amateur against Bernardo Sopai. That could be a really fun fight as well. Nikolai Veretinikov is back against Chaos Williams. So it should be a fun little card at the Apex. Like I said, this is going to be one of those ones that kind of flies under everybody's radar because I imagine everybody's attention is going to be on the MVP MMA event. But if you want to watch both, if you're that hardcore, if you want to have double screen it up or what have you, there's a ton of MMA, and that's good. The more options we have, the more options.
Yep.
Like I said, even if you can't watch all of it and you're like, there's too much, just remember, this is an opportunity for all these athletes to go out there and get paid and to advance their careers, support their families, all this. Another, by the way, big women's fight as well. Ketlin Vieira versus Jacqueline Cavalcante. I believe Jacqueline Cavalcante has been very underranked and underrated so far in her career. Here's a chance for her to take a big step up against Ketlin Vieira, who she's going to have a big athletic advantage over. Although Ketlin is not an easy task to take out, but I believe Jacqueline Cavalcante. I'm really excited about that one as well. So, anyway, little preview of both cards, and of course, the benefit of us being split up is we'll have eyes on the ground on both of them. We'll give you some perspective on everything that's happening when we get together next week. So, Cold Coffee, are you enjoying? So, is the road treating you well? Are you making any use of like free time in LA? I don't know, it's still kind of early in the week, but are there plans? I know the crew's out there.
One of my old high school buddies lives not too far from here, and we're going to get together for lunch today,
Nice.
which I'm pretty stoked about that. Yeah, outside of that, me and Jose went to a coffee shop this morning. It's been crazy because everything's so late in the day. Like, this stuff is kind of like, come on, guys, do we need to have everything start at 6 p.m. every night? I'm like, so I'm doing a lot of sitting around, but we did do a coffee shop today, and then I'm going to go do lunch with my buddy. And then tomorrow we got the morning weigh-ins, hopefully, and then probably just taking a little bit of break before the show. But we're staying just around the corner from the arena, so that's kind of cool. Not too much of a travel, but we're kind of in an area where there's not a lot of stuff. I don't really know my LA areas, but some people say that Inglewood and around this area is maybe not the safest area, but I haven't seen anything that's too problematic or whatever. But you got a lot of people at night that are like, you should probably Uber it to that bar, or you should probably go do whatever. But I've been trying to be good, and I'm not trying to partake like the young kids in this one. Today I'm gonna go out and have a nice lunch and then get ready for the press conference. But
so responsible.
Friday night, since this Saturday is a little bit of a later start, maybe I'll go out on Friday and have a couple drinks or something. But besides that, I'm taking it easy, and yeah. Maybe it's my age, maybe it's my whatever, but no, I'm enjoying. I'm gonna enjoy seeing my old high school buddy today for lunch. But that's about the extent of really doing anything.
Inglewood used to be kind of rough, obviously, but I mean, now since they came in there and built SoFi and built Intuit Dome, and I mean that whole area, at least that area, like there's a lot of money in that area.
Yeah, and we've seen, and that's the main thing. Like even today, I picked up some donuts at this small little private-owned shop. So we've been trying to do that sort of thing. I do love that is one of my favorite things when we do go into a town is try to find some local businesses and give them some business. So the coffee shop we went to was a small independent coffee shop. Like that was a vinyl record store inside of it as well, and it was like alien theme. I was like, okay, yeah, of course we got to go there. And then on the way back, we stopped by this small bakery / Asian Mexican bakery coffee shop or whatever. So I picked up some donuts today. Yesterday I had like a couple breakfast sandwiches there, and then there was a small little there was something bowl shop where you can get like teriyaki bowls and other stuff, and Jose picked him up something. But it's cool kind of seeing some of the local businesses. So
that's cool.
I thought the area was fine, but everybody's like, oh, I'm not sure. I was like, bro, whatever. I mean, you live this as long as I've lived. You go through a bunch of neighborhoods. You don't think much about them anymore, But I can see where maybe this was a little bit rough at the time. You've seen some businesses, some hotels and other stuff that look pretty worn down, but others that were bought and look like they're refurbishing them. So I can definitely see with all the venues and arenas, like you mentioned, that are popping, that are all around here, that the areas – it's, I'm sure it just goes through cycles, they'll, it might get run down, then it gets rebuilt back up, and then eventually maybe it runs down, and then eventually again it'll get rebuilt back up. But no, I mean, that's one of the things I do enjoy is like we did get out, walk it a little bit, and then eat give some business to the local business and stuff. But no, it's been fine, man. I haven't seen any issues or whatever. So, but I did wish things were done a little bit earlier in the day. I hate having to sit around because by the time it ends, this is not Vegas. Things close. So if we did want to go get some frosty beverages afterwards, like you got to get done with your shit and then get out quick because the things close, So, but again, I'm not trying to hang with too much with these young kids. Let the kiddos go out and get crazy. I'm like, I'll see you all in the morning.
It is. I'll say, okay, it is interesting. I did notice that they were doing everything late. I understand why they would want to do everything a little bit later in the market, simply because you want to make sure that you get as much media available as you can, or what have you. But the other thing is when you factor in that time difference back on the East Coast, and again, this is being broadcast everywhere. The majority of the nation's, population lives on the East Coast and East Coast time zone, so you're missing the news cycle with them by doing everything so late. But whatever, worked out for them. That's just a little small maybe adjustment they want to make, but hopefully they go forward. So bottom line is, look, if you got Netflix, even if you don't care about this card, just throw it on. Let them get some numbers. Hook them up. It'll help the sport grow. It'll help MMA have another place for people to compete. So
100%.
If you got Netflix, give them some numbers. Just throw it on, even if you're not watching. Put it on the background and then go watch something else on your iPad or your computer or something like that. So anyway,
there you go.
We'll be enjoying it all. We'll talk about it when we all get together next week. Hopefully everybody enjoys the weekend, watches a little bit of everything. Most of all, thanks for listening.